Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority Board Meeting, Wednesday, September 5th, 2018. Susan, will you call the roll?
Absolutely. Bob Gunzel, Tyler Kinley, Ray Clough.
Here.
Howard Lazarus.
Here.
Jessica Letow.
Here.
Joan Lowenstein.
Here.
Molly McFarland.
Here.
Darren McKinnon.
Present.
John Moat.
Here.
Rishi Narayan.
Here.
Keith Orr.
Here.
Bill Weiss.
Here.
We have a quorum.
And you got Jessica's name right. Well done.
Mine
was Seesaw.
That's right. So first, I'd like a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any changes? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Agenda passes.
Yes.
Agenda passes. I don't have any audience participation. Is there any audience participation? Seeing none, we'll start out with reports from city boards and commissions. Ray? 4 minutes.
Good morning. Everyone attending last night's Citizen Advisory Council meeting agreed that there's a lot going on in downtown. Everybody you talked to said, oh God, there's a lot going on in downtown. Last night we tried to cover all that lot. We didn't get through it, but some of the things that we covered were interesting. We asked Susan Polly to review the DDA changes that were approved by City Council on August the 9th, and anything that may be pending, including plans for safe streets, recreating Ashley and First into two-way streets, William Street into a bicycle route from State to 3rd, the redesign of Huron from 3rd to Division, and hope for approval of additions to the Ann Ashley parking structure. But that was just the start. Going around the table, all 12 of us who were there last night were asked to comment on what interested or most concerned us at this time. Although a few of us expressed an interest in very specific issues, that is public safety, clean alleys, traffic, well-lit streets, etc., most of us were concerned with large-scale pending or possible development plans. Broadway Park, over on the DTE site, the entire former DTE site hotel, 3 condo buildings located on that site, proposed at least, for housing, and of course, location of future railroad depot nearby. Because most of the people who were there last night are still hanging on to the concept of getting that railroad station where the present depot is. Everyone expressed interest in Peter Allen's recently circulated A2020, an action plan, and I read this, this is a quotation, this is what it's called. An action plan to jumpstart discussion for workforce housing solutions, city center development, master planning opportunities, and an expanded tree-lined trail. Note that part of it, which is to jumpstart discussion. It certainly does that. There are many maps, models, design strategies for the tree line, possible future location for the downtown district library, workforce and market rate housing, grocery plan, locations, library, transit center, and plaza. Also the possible creation of a riverfront tax increment financing TIF district outside the downtown. And of course, the future of the library block. And I just want to say, because I've mentioned it to somebody else, the library board is somehow or other going to be dealing with consideration of a proposal or a suggestion, something perhaps only for discussion on their meeting of September 17th. I believe that's at 7:00 p.m. And we should all make an attempt to attend that meeting with regard to the issue of the location of the future library. We intend to review Peter's discussion topics again, because this is the discussion topics. A lot of maps. It's not a proposal for anything in terms of development. It's just a lot of possibilities with regard to development, and we should at least be aware of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. The next item on the agenda is DDA member communications. The executive committee would like to put forth a resolution thanking John Split. Susan, would you like to read that?
Absolutely. This has become a tradition at the DDA. As board members complete their term at the DDA, we approve a resolution of thanks for their time of service. So this is a resolution thanking John Split. Whereas John Splitt joined the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority Board in 2006 and served for 3 full terms, ending his service in 2018. Whereas John Splitt brought important insights into the deliberations of the DDA, including the unique needs of downtown residents and small, independently owned businesses, as well as the valuable perspective as a longtime Ann Arborite. Whereas John Splitt was a highly valued and active DDA board member, serving on nearly every committee, with special importance given to his service as longtime co-chair of the Operations Committee, where he helped to guide significant matters involving DDA parking policies and operations. Whereas John Splitt's tenure was especially noteworthy as he worked closely with the DDA Executive Director as she oversaw major park constructions, in particular the design and construction of the Underground Library Lane project, which was the DDA's largest and most challenging project. Whereas John Splitt's participation in this and other construction projects brought inestimable benefit, particularly when there were choices to be weighed and decisive action to be taken. Whereas John Splitt skillfully took on other leadership roles throughout his time on the DDA, including serving on the Executive Committee and serving as DDA Chair in 2010. Whereas John Splitt's remarkable commitment to the DDA and its mission will be sorely missed, and his devotion to the downtown and the community is an inspiration to all of us who have had the good fortune to work beside him. Whereas John Splitt's dislike of excessive numbers of whereas clauses and resolutions suggests the need to draw this particular resolution to a close. Resolved, the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority, on behalf of the downtown and the community, thanks John Splitt for his great service and abundant contributions to the downtown, and indeed to the community as a whole, through his work on the Ann Arbor Downtown Development Authority.
I still think there should be a reference to Diet Mountain Dew in there somewhere.
That will be his gift.
I'd like to move that we approve that resolution.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The motion passes. Next.
I have.
Oh, sorry.
Please. I'd like to make an introduction. We're joined this afternoon by John Fournier, who is the new Assistant City Administrator for the City of Ann Arbor. The result of a long and painstaking search, we were able to pry him away from the City of Pittsburgh, where he had served as the Deputy Chief of Staff to the Mayor and also as the Director of their on-street parking operations. So I would suspect we will all have the opportunity to interact with John on matters related to parking in the immediate future. So I'd like to have you join me in welcoming him both to Ann Arbor and to the DDA.
Are there any other member communications?
Yes. So I just wanted to share with everyone, as most of you know, I hold monthly downtown hall coffee hours to talk about issues pertaining to the DDA and the downtown. This month they will be this coming Saturday, September 8th, starting at 10 a.m. at the Blake Transit Center. We'll start on the west-hand side and do a walking tour of the proposed street projects. It'll take about an hour and a half, and we will be out of downtown well before game time starts. The next time will be next Wednesday, the 12th of September, 7 to 8:30 p.m., and that's at Songbird Cafe on out Plymouth in Ward 2. That's it.
Any others? I wanted to point out on the back of your packet our list of all the upcoming meetings for the year. In case you don't have it on your calendar, you have a nice little thing here that will remind you where to be and when to be there. Next up, we have Executive Director Communications. Susan has not. Go ahead.
I was just going to say operations, it says fourth Wednesday, but it's really last Wednesday.
Last Wednesday. The same is true with finance, it's the last Thursday.
Since I finally figured out how to say last, go calendar.
Okay, next up is the approval of the minutes, the July and August meeting minutes. Do I have a motion? Jessica, second? Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. Okay, subcommittee reports. First up is Operations Committee. Phil and Keith. Phil?
Okay, I'm up first. And the first item on the Operations Committee report agenda is as a resolution. I'd like to move this resolution to approve a parking agreement with Core Spaces. The committee discussed the Core Spaces parking agreement provided to us by the city attorney. Committee members first reviewed the March 2017 DDA approved resolution where we stated our recommendations for what a future parking agreement would contain, and this is all included in your board packet. The only question we had was if the number of spaces in the library lane garage was reduced to Core Spaces construction. Did the city still have to provide 196 permits, or was that going to be reduced? This information is all included in your packet. We agreed that the parking agreement is in keeping with what the DDA had recommended in 2017, and we recommended approval. Was there any discussion around this?
There we go.
Did we have a second? Howard? Thank you.
So now, is there any discussion?
I would like to make an amendment. I can offer one.
And this is the resolution's on page 31, by the way.
So then, is that a motion to make an amendment?
It is.
Do I have a second?
Well, we
Yes,
have
someone
to
can
announce it first.
So I would offer that on the resolve clause after the word approves, that we insert the words in substantial form. There are some small items that still need to be addressed. So rather than delay this or have to come back, if we have the latitude to just finalize some odds and ends and still get approval, that would be helpful. Mr. Crawford is here, and he can certainly help us understand what those small nits are if we have any questions. Tom?
I'll second the
I was
amendment.
going to say, let's get a second.
Thank you. We're still having conversations with Core wrapping this up, but a couple of things, minor things in here. For example, one came from your attorney, Mr. Lax, on page 5, paragraph, let's see, this is section 5B3. In that paragraph, you'll see references to X, Y, and Z. We're just kind of confirming whether those really need to be in there or not. They kind of relate to 3 different aspects. Things like this. There's not a I'm not aware of any substantive change at all, but I did not want you to walk away with this agreement and think letter for letter, this is exactly what might be the final one that's presented to council. But if you approve today in substantive form, we will move forward with all meaningful things staying the same, and we might have some edits like that.
Thank you.
Discussion?
On the amendment? Yeah, I would completely approve, because, I mean, our basic role right now is to help the city, because they asked us to provide this, and it's all nothing new. It's what the library, the lot was originally built for, and the spaces were always intended for this purpose. And so as far as I'm concerned, what the city requires is what we should probably provide. So I'm all for it.
So all those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. So the amendment passes. And
Now I think you have to ask for discussion about the actual
so
resolution.
now discussion, any discussion about the actual amendment?
Resolution.
Amended resolution.
I think it might be helpful for us and for anyone watching to get a quick little background on this. It might be helpful to have Susan just give us a very quick.
Sure. So I'll try to do it quick. The parking garage was authorized by City Council back in like '08 or so. And at the time, the question was what was going to go on top. We just knew it was going to be an underground garage. The authorization from council directed us to build a garage, frankly, that could accommodate a variety of things because they weren't clear at that point. The RFP that the city finally did issue didn't go out until after the parking garage was well under construction, and that was the first iteration where the RFP was extremely broad, and we ended up with everything from a skating rink to a conference center. So that RFP didn't produce anything useful. A second RFP was issued about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, in which much more specificity was set forward. The garage and where its columns are, now they're all set. The garage has been open since 2012. So 9 responses came back to this RFP, with the garage being kind of the given. And Core Spaces was selected. They were selected by a variety of staffers and others who said this most closely addresses what was in the RFP. The city has selected them, and that vote was taken. Since that time, we met with Core back in 2017. We met to understand how we could support their parking, what they needed. We then produced our resolution, which is in here, March of 2017. Here's what their requests were. This is what we recommended, and that then was woven into this parking agreement. As I understand it, there are other agreements that are still under this development that have to do with things like the construction. There will eventually be a condominium association. Liberty Square and First and Washington are condos, so this will eventually be a condominium. But that's all separate from our role. Our role as the parking managers is to set forward what we would like to see in the parking agreement, which we did last year. Yes, please.
If I could contribute a little bit more context. So in this specific agreement, this is an agreement for a 20-year commitment for 196 spaces that are a 20-year agreement with 2 15-year options. It includes 196 spaces in the Library Lane project 24/7, plus 85 spaces at the 4th and William site. I'm trying to remember those 24/7 and I have to look. And then 80 off-peak spaces where you got, or I should say permits, because they're not really spaces, because you guys sell those off-peak permits. So that's fundamentally what this is. Now, along with this agreement, the construction, there are provisions around the construction of the project. So, for example, if any spaces are needed during construction, the Core Spaces pays for those spaces. And please realize that because this is dedicated to this development, they pay your normal rate plus 20% premium. They also pay the card fee that you have. I'm trying to think if there's anything else of interest that you might have in this. Those are the kind of the key provisions in the project. Now, this parking agreement comes to you today. You're part of a tri-party agreement. This is between the city, Core Spaces, and the DDA. Should you approve this today, it would go to City Council on September 17th. Along with this item on the 17th would be 2 other items. One would be an affordable housing covenant for the project, which you're actually not a party to, but that's part of the larger sales agreement follow-up. And then the third document going to council would be a condominium documents, and those are also in the process, and those are between the city and Core, but those are also being wrapped up. So all 3 of those things would be on the council agenda for 9/17. This part is the part that you're directly involved with.
Tom, question for you. The condominium agreement. One problem we've had is, for instance, at First and William, there still isn't a condominium association. Is there going to be a timeline that with it, once Core is kind of out of there and they're selling these office condos, is there a timeline in which time an association will be formed and meetings held?
Yes.
Things will be organized?
Yes. So we learned several things from the last project, and I'm following up on that actually, on that last project. But on this project, we learned a few things. It'll be baked in. We haven't decided exactly where, but as part of the milestones, we do not expect that to be an issue here.
Good.
Tom, since you have a question, you mentioned some of the comments, the reason why we're modifying the resolution to say in substantial form are from Jerry Lax. Has Core Spaces legal reviewed this agreement, and are they okay with it in substantial form?
They're reviewing it, but I actually have a meeting in the next couple of days with them to kind of finalize everything in preparation for the 17th, and that's why I said that, because I'm incorporating feedback from Jerry as well as from them. But they've had the agreement, but I haven't heard any substantive issues.
Okay. So, I guess, is there some possibility that Core Spaces Council would have comments that would be to the point where we would need to look at this again?
If they do, I would bring it back to you.
Okay.
If they don't, which is what I'm expecting, I would be sharing with you, and I can share with you as we do with council the agreement, the final form of the agreement.
And then one other question, Phil, you touched on it briefly, we talked about it in executive committee. The question was asked last week in operations about the 196. You didn't say it, but what we said in executive was if there are parking spaces that are permanently lost due to elevators or what shear walls, what have you, that those would come out of the 196.
That's correct, and that's been included in the agreement in the last paragraph of 2A.
Okay. 2A.
It says the maximum number of parking permits that may be leased to Core Spaces shall be reduced by the number of spaces within the parking structure wholly or in part occupied or obstructed by any elements.
Yeah, the operations chair, co-chair, failed to read that when it was brought up.
We'll talk to him.
It's Keith.
Come on, Keith.
We had literally just gotten the agreement, so we were all like reading it.
On the fly, right.
And in fact, that had been a question we brought up, and we only realized later that it had already been addressed. And my understanding is that the person who has the ultimate say on that is going to be the bond attorney anyway, because that number is determined by the bond. Only a certain number of spaces are allowed to be.
The question about the bond was all dealt with
Right.
a long time ago. This is the number that works, yes.
Right, exactly.
Thank you, Ken. Any other discussion?
So I just mentioned this at executive, I have some concerns because of the other issues that are going on in the community with multiple lawsuits and a citizen-led ballot drive. I understand we're being asked to approve this and we'll most likely do so today, but those other things that are going out do concern me. And I question the timing of this because of those things, but at the same time I realize why we're doing it. I just want to state that.
You ready? So what do I do? Right, so we need to vote. What, all those?
Yeah, I would say all those in favor of the resolutions. Parking
This is
agreement.
fun. I'm in training. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Motion passes.
Okay, I think it's still on me. Update Ann Ashley expansion project. Apparently the site plan was submitted to the city last month. When do we expect to hear back?
I believe that our planner has asked for staff comments back by the middle of next week at the latest.
Okay, great. Moving along, the parking and transportation reports are in your packet starting on page 23. July and August reports, including art fair revenues and year-end meter bag fee waivers for the fiscal year 18 special events, were reviewed by the operations committee. Regarding summer garage repairs, those are underway. Our new contractor, Meridian, is doing good work, but I think we had to talk to them about trying to leave the space and the sites a little cleaner and neater when they're finished up. So I think we've had that conversation and things are improving. We reviewed the fourth quarter revenues comparing fiscal year 18 to 17. I think we're going to see those same reports in the Finance Committee update. The April 1st rate change affected the fiscal year 18 totals, as did the loss of 2 parking lots, which accounted for over 200 parking spaces. Fiscal year 18 income statement by facility report was reviewed. We had fewer patrons in 18, but we're finding that they're parking longer. So fewer customers, but staying longer. Credit cards are being used much more widely, which is increasing our costs due to the credit card processing fees. Parking operations, the structures except Library Lane filled to capacity during the recent soccer match. Feedback from visitors was positive, especially the $15 a day flat rate. The Fifth and William lot was also used for visitor parking for the soccer match. I think that's all I had for operations. Next, well, Keith, I think it's to you now.
Yep. Not a lot to report, but some good things. Get Downtown has a new website. It's slicker design, but that can be used more easily both by people who are trying to get downtown, providing all of the different options for doing so, as well as for businesses in terms of administrative go-pass. So we're excited about that. Also, the RIDE, the AATA, has just produced a strategic business plan, as well as a budget, because of course strategic plans don't mean much without a budget, and the budget was designed to reflect that strategic plan. It's their first in some time, I believe, and I think I even is it. I don't believe the website is on here anymore for it, but do we have it on our website? Or can we get it on our website so that anyone who's interested in looking at that plan and commenting on it, there is an open comment period?
Yeah, I believe they're going to our next board meeting next Thursday, if I have the timing correct, but you can always go to theride.org and do a search for strategic business plan, and it'll be out there.
So that's pretty exciting. And the only other thing I have is that the DDA and the RIDE together are looking at a new staging spot for the air ride. There have been some concerns about its location on 5th, and we're looking at moving it over onto 4th. I believe where the Greyhound station used to be, at that spot there. Feel like it would be less of an imposition on a bike lane and the traffic in that location. So that's all I have on transportation. The next Ops Committee meeting is the last Wednesday, September 26th at 11 a.m. right here.
Okay, next is the Finance Committee, and I am Bob Basil today as well. So we talked about the first Ashley, Huron, and William bond. In August, the city voted to move forward with advertising the bond, and now the item will be on the October 15th City Council meeting agenda for formal approval. We reviewed the financial statements, the expense reports. We went through the unaudited year-end financial statements. The biggest variances, as always, were due to project timing. For example, the 5th and Detroit project, so it gets bumped from one year to the next. The other things we talked about were parking, but that was exactly what Phil just talked about, so I won't say it again. The year-end fiscal year 18 DDA funds committee report was reviewed, as was the fiscal year 19 funds committee report. The fiscal year 18 audit, the auditors were on site earlier this week. Everything's looking good so far. And the next Finance Committee meeting will be Tuesday, the 25th, the last Tuesday, September 25th at 1 o'clock. All right, Capital Improvements Committee, John.
Thanks. Maybe the most significant thing over the summer for us has been the City Council meeting on August 9th, at which time City Council supported resolution to restore the two-way traffic to First and Ashley. Supported the recommendations of the Huron project. You may remember that because MDOT Control and Huron, they need city council support for the project, and the approval of the intent to bond for the projects. So those were 3 significant hurdles and things to staff for the good work to prepare for that meeting, and it went fairly smoothly. In terms of the specific projects, 5th of Detroit is moving along. It's a little bit behind. It's maybe probably about 20 days behind, but they do hope to, intend to complete the project within this construction season. Work is fairly well completed on brick and concrete and so forth on the west side, and they're shifting to the east side. There's utilities work, underground work being done on the east side.
John, this construction season means end of November or something
I
like that?
believe so. I don't know if we don't. I don't think we can give a firm date.
Yeah.
You know, obviously with weather and so forth, but that would be about what people should anticipate. But all in all, again, it sounds as though things are going quite smoothly. If anyone has any particular questions or concerns, or folks are, I've had some folks talk to me, and people are getting a little weary of it, going on. But it sounds as though Liz has continued to work with folks and keep everyone calm. And so if anyone has any specific questions, Liz may be a good person to ask. Howard.
So I'd like to recognize and acknowledge the project team for working with Community High to address their drop-offs as schools started yesterday while under construction. Have not heard anything negative come out, so it's always positive. And they've done they did a great job of planning and contingency planning in advance. So kudos to the project team.
I absolutely agree. After working with the schools for 30 years and all the ups and downs and people being pretty stressed out at this time of year and so forth, it's pretty remarkable actually that so far so good.
Did we check to see whether the email servers are down?
But, yes.
During the summer months, there were also an awful lot of parents and kids looking at construction. So it was, if not an inconvenience, it was certainly a little bit of some fun things for people to do in addition to going to the farmers market and down in Carytown. So
Yeah, we may have some kids becoming, engineers and contractors and all kinds of good tradespeople. We need more tradespeople. Liz, put an ad out there. Will you?
No, not architects, so.
Yeah, no more architects. We got more than enough architects. So anyway, I think again things are moving quite nicely for quite a difficult project, especially in terms of safety and so forth. First, Ashley and William, the design team and staff, have kind of moved along and kind of trying to work through some of the sort of the details of how to deal with intersections and so forth, some of the functional work. And so we anticipate that at our September meeting, our committee gets to start looking at some of the fun stuff with the streetscape portions and what functionalities they're looking at, and looking at how to prioritize work to be done moving forward. So I think that'll be an important next step for that project. And then Huron, as we talked about with City Council support, that package, I guess, has it moved to MDOT now for their review, and their focus is on the traffic piece of it. Is that right, Amber? Give us a quick, where are we in the process?
Sure. So a few months prior to seeking council approval, we did share the traffic details and the transportation analysis with the state. They sat on it until we got council support. So as soon as we got council support, I reached out to them and they started their review process of the transportation elements. The team is now working on preparing construction documents, so the streetscape design portion, and that we will share with MDOT in the next month or so. So they're on 2 separate tracks and they're reviewed by 2 separate groups of the state.
I know this is a dumb question, dare I ask, has MDOT given any indication of how long it'll take to do their review?
On the transportation portion, no. Fortunately, though, we don't need that approval to have permits to begin work. So we just want to make sure we wrap that up by the time we're ready to implement those portions, which would be at the end of the construction project.
Oh, okay, good.
So again, I had some concerns about how this would be received by council, but the community and neighborhood outreach that was done was exceptional. Council had asked some questions, and Amber provided more information than they probably wanted in return. And both of these passed either unanimously or nearly unanimously when Council considered them. So it's a great exercise and learning opportunity in how to do community outreach and bring that to Council.
And again, I think we need to give all the credit in the world to the staff and also this project team. You know, I kind of credit folks here who went along with JGR and Tool Design. It's a little unusual to bring two firms with overlapping sort of expertise, but Tool, I think, has brought an extra level of oomph and creativity and so forth to it. And so I think it's a credit to everyone to be able to kind of manage all this and move it along so nicely.
Yeah, and I think that some of the most robust community interaction of any project I've ever seen.
Yeah. Yeah, the downside is that we may have set a bit of a precedent going forward. Trying to live up to is challenging. Any questions for me or for Andrew? If not, our next meeting, have we firmed up Tuesday, September 18th? I just want to point out that it's Yom Kippur is the 19th, which was the original Wednesday date, which is also, I noticed, in that schedule in your booklet. So ignore that date for this September meeting. Tuesday, September 18th, 11 a.m.
Maybe we could send out a revised one based on this to everybody. It'd be great. All right.
Is it still at 9 a.m.?
11. It's still at 11 a.m.
I mean,
I was wondering why you hadn't been showing up.
I was changing the wrong one here.
He likes the coffee here. Hangs out.
September 18th. I was down at T Partnership, sorry.
All right, the next is partnerships. Joan.
Oh, Jessica, you want to take it over since you're the co-chair?
Sure, I'd like to.
It's a really heavy report. Right. So last month, the Partnerships Committee meeting was canceled. We had summer vacation along with many others. But we will meet next week with our partners. That's September 12th at 9 a.m., I believe. September 12th, 9 a.m. Yep. That's it.
Say, Jessica, remind us who all of the partners are.
That's a great question. So the Planning Commission, we have a City Council liaison, the RIDE joins us. Also invited to join us are the library and I believe WCC. And who am I leaving out? County, yes, thank you. I think that's it.
Do we know, I've got a dumb question, but when do City Council liaisons sort of change with elections and all that, the new people come on, how that process works?
I think it's after November, and there's a council, there's a committee that recommends those assignments. And so it would probably be sometime after the first of the year, because it takes them a while to figure out who's going to do what.
Thank you.
And our current liaison is Graydon, so we will have a new one.
Okay, and the executive committee today, we met and we just went over the agenda, had a little bit of discussion about it, and that was it. So
Got you all prepped.
we did, yeah.
First meeting.
Yeah. Phil was very helpful. Thank you, Phil. Next committee meeting is Wednesday, October 3rd at 11 a.m. So is there any new business? Hearing none. Is there any other audience participation? Hearing none. Do I have an emotion to adjourn the meeting?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
Well done. Good job, Jody.